Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Arvind, and I'll be talking about modeling mind as a modular RL neural network system. So just by way of introduction, I'm a computer scientist and computer engineer. Was a grad student at CSAIL at MIT long time ago. Last ran engineering for an AI and vision company. Um, yeah, so it's very contextual that I'm having this discussion after Peter's talk earlier today about global architectures of neural networks and the MART framework of an implementation way of understanding human mind, right? So just building upon that idea separately is that what I'm proposing is a modular reinforcement learning based neural network implementation of mind. Uh, Modular meaning it's hierarchical, models whatever abstractions we know about different behaviors. Uh, it's linear, well, it's neural network architecture and hence trainable, implementable in software. I think Peter made a compelling case about why we should do it. But just to reiterate, helps us uh, handle healthcare and treatment better, possibly could lead to core advancements in AIML. By disclaimers, just sort of some reasonable expectation setting. This is more of a research proposal, necessarily not a proven research. I've taken a very software system engineering approach to building it, so a little more top-down hierarchical structure, a lot of details missing, a lot of hand waving, admittedly, in this framework here, right? So at a high level, this framework consists of subcomponents around sensory part, the more rational logical compute part, which even includes components around memory, generalization, replay, complementary learning. I've introduced two new components here, which I would argue are uniquely sort of human and not much covered in the current ML work, is around subconscious and a kind of reward function which takes into account our moral values and judgment. Will and 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 attention network, which is a little bit like the index sort of system that was talked about in one of the presentations yesterday, right? Um, so imagine the sensory system, for example, takes whatever sensory inputs we have, videos coming in, right? If I were to model that out, input as videos coming from different streams, whichever way we model olfactory inputs and other sort of senses, and I'm sure I've missed many of these senses here, and sort of output some rational understanding of what the world is like, right? So hypothetically, if I were to decode this sensory module output, it may look like, hey, there is a black, small, fluffy, cute cat uh, at a certain distance away or a specific XY coordination away, and I'm confident about that inference with, say, confidence of 95%, for example, right? So that's the kind of input that the sensory system might output. The compute system actually does the rational compute, and this is where a lot of work at places like people like Josh and Baum and many others around how do we sort of figure out the space around us, right? The physics engine, the numbers engine, right? And many more sort of behaviors we have understood so far, uh, as well as to oppose talk a couple of days ago about complementary learning as part of us sort of learning more, CLS systems getting captured here, aspects around Hebbian plasticity as well, some model of memory as well, right? And for want of time, I'm not going to a little more detail here. For want of time and for want of understanding, um, the subconscious and the reward system is sort of a new proposal which takes into account, roughly intuitively imagine the system as something that takes, so when we see a certain sensory input, while we have a rational decision on the action to be taken, we probably have a subconscious reaction as well that we generate. As well as once we have decided a rational action, we may have a sort of a moral judgment about that action. I should do this action, but I don't feel good about it because I may be harming somebody else, possibly, right? And the reward function that we talked about, which is more of a human reward function, I'm calling it, say, happiness score, fulfillment score, whatever, is sort of a takes into account the more direct reward, but also brings in some aspects of conscience. How far is that action away from what I believe and what my model values are, right? And how much of a perturbation it could be causing to my value system here. So if you put it all together, you get a large trainable, um, uh, to borrow Peter's word again, global architecture of what this model might look like. Obviously, pieces are missing, right? There could be multiple sort of concerns, and I would sort of love to go into more detail around how does the model stand against what we know about different practices such as Vipassana? How would you train such a model? What could be the concerns about it around from both neuroscience as well as sort of machine learning perspective? What are the open research questions? And there are quite a few. And then what do we need to sort of work on it? And then how do we even propose going about it? But I'll just pause here. I look forward to more detailed discussions on this as well as the latter sort of topics in the poster session. Um, Thank you.